All right, we are back here on Titans Talk, breaking down another Tennessee Titans win, 23-20 over the Baltimore Ravens yesterday at Nissan Stadium, keeping pace with the Jaguars. And by the way, this now, to me, and I think to a lot of people, appears to be a two-horse race in the AFC South. For a long time this season, it looked like the Texans were coming on strong. Big part of that was Deshaun Watson. Well, with him out with a torn ACL now for the rest of the year, that offense didn't look anything the same yesterday. Tom Savage looked dreadful against Indianapolis. And if the Texans can't beat Indianapolis at home, there's no way to expect them to continue to play well against anybody better than that. So to me, the Texans are officially out of this race now. They've just taken too many injuries to the defensive side of the ball and now to Watson. And earlier in the week, despite their win this weekend, the Colts announced that Andrew Luck was officially done for the season. He's not going to play this year because of the lingering rehabilitation from his offseason shoulder surgery. So those two teams without quarterbacks are just out of the picture, in my mind. So this is a two-team race now between the Titans and the Jaguars. Both stand there at 5-3. The Titans do have the head-to-head tiebreaker, at least for now, because of their Week 2 win in Jacksonville. And they don't meet again until Week 17, the final day of the regular season here in Nashville. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays itself out. But also, that's your competition now. You've got to win. You've got to keep pace with that guy. And that goes both ways. And so yesterday, a big win for the Titans. Jags take down the Bengals. Now the Titans get the Bengals this week. Jags have kind of an easy, meaty portion of their schedule coming up right here over the next few weeks. Titans get the Bengals, then they go to Pittsburgh, then it's a couple of division games. So I think we'll get a little bit more clarity of where these two teams are, but don't be surprised if this goes down to Week 17 between these two teams here in Nashville. And the other thing that I say maybe don't be surprised about is the possibility that there's a wild card out of this division right now, because neither team's schedule is particularly hard the rest of the way. And you've got other teams beating themselves up. I mean, I like Kansas City a lot. They've struggled lately, lost 3 of 4. And I think Oakland will turn it around if they can get healthy at all out west. The only team in the AFC North that I like at all really is the Steelers. And then in the AFC East, the Bills have been there. Other than that, you're looking at the Patriots. And so is it possible that both the Titans and the Jaguars can figure out a way to get in? Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how those schedules play themselves out over the rest of the year. For now, though, let's take a look back. By the way, our phone lines are open, 737-7767. Want to get your thoughts on yesterday's win over the Ravens. Also want to get your thoughts on where this team stands now 8 games into the season. Haven't played their best football. It's been ugly at times. Not always pretty, but as Taylor Lewan said yesterday, look, a W is a W. They don't ask how. He actually didn't say they don't ask how. He had much more colorful language than that. But to his larger point, there's no asterisks next to wins in the National Football League. You don't have to apologize for beating Cleveland in overtime as long as you win. And that's where the Titans are right now. Some of these games have been ugly. Some of the starts have been really poor. But 5 out of 8 times now they've figured out a way to get a win. And because of that, they're in first place heading into the second half of the season. They set the tone for the second half with the way they played yesterday against the Ravens. It was a 23-20 win. It was the start of the second half, essentially coming off of the bye week. And this is a rivalry game. It's gone back a long time. They don't play each other every year anymore, but there is some bad blood because of the playoff history between these two teams. And so it was a big one yesterday. The Titans wanted to get out and get after those Ravens right away, and they did early on. So let's take a look at the highlights from yesterday. Titans coming out. That's actually the Browns game from last week. So we've got early plays from the Titans in that game last week. So we'll move on. Maybe we'll get the highlights from yesterday's game at some point. But clearly, both of these 2 weeks, they haven't been pretty. They haven't always been pretty. But they figure out a way to get the job done. And that is the most important thing when you're talking about any NFL game. And you look around the league, I mean, so many of these games are decided by a score or less. And so what it comes down to is, can you make the play that needs to be made to win the game? And that's what you saw yesterday from this Titans team, to me. And that's what we've seen a bunch throughout the course of this year, is when you're in one-possession games, when the chips are in the middle of the table, and you've got to make a play to win, who comes up with it? And we've seen several guys step up. We've certainly seen Marcus Mariota do it. We've seen DeMarco Murray come up with some big runs. Derrick Henry, big run against Indianapolis. Delaney Walker's made huge catches. Rashard Matthews. Yesterday it was Eric Decker. Finally found him in the red zone. That was a pleasant surprise. Maybe shouldn't be a surprise because of how productive he's been in the red zone throughout the course of his career, but for whatever reason, he just hasn't been a factor in the red zone for this team as they've struggled. Well, yesterday he gets involved and he catches a touchdown pass. That, hopefully, is a sign of things to come for this team. And also Marcus Mariota in the red zone now. This is an amazing statistic. And I shared this in a radio interview this afternoon on Cincinnati radio. Marcus Mariota, now for his career, midway through his third season in the NFL, has thrown for 35 red zone touchdowns. He has never thrown an interception in the red zone. 35 zip touchdown to interception ratio in the red zone. That is remarkable. I don't care who you are, but especially a young quarterback in the National Football League. And to me, that's why the Titans need to take a few more chances. And Mariota's part of that too. He had an opportunity in Cleveland on a play where if he throws it, if he's committed to throwing the ball, he has Rashard Matthews on a touchdown. Instead, he hit the check down, goes for a few yards, they stop, and you've got to settle for a field goal. He's got to be willing to take that shot as well. But I think the Titans also have to be a bit more aggressive with that play calling. You saw that yesterday, and that's why they went 3 for 3 inside the red zone. Mariota for the day, 19 of 28, 218 yards, 2 touchdowns. Threw a pretty bad interception in there, but by and large, he looked like a healthy quarterback. He looked like an in-command quarterback and the type of guy that you need to lead this team. Mariota's got to be healthy for the Titans to be at their best, and he looked like it yesterday. Again, the running numbers weren't big. I don't think they want to stress him right now coming back from that injury, but he looked like a guy that in the pocket, if you got after him, he could get out of there. He could make a run for it. He could scramble for a first down. You didn't think that the last couple of weeks. That's a huge benefit. He's not a sitting duck against the pass rush. That's big for this offense. You have the threat of him running, the zone read play and other things like that, and he's perfectly capable of breaking those. And other teams know it, so they have to prepare for that. That all opens things up for this offense to hopefully be a more dynamic offense in the second half of the season. Jonathan Hutton joins us every Sunday night for the Electric Power Company's Sunday Sports Central on News Channel 5. Titans radio sideline reporter. He was in studio again last night to give us his keys to the game from the Titans' 23-20 win over the Ravens. All right, we are having a few technical issues tonight. We don't have that video as well. So we will keep on chatting here. Phone lines are open. 737-7767 is the number as we continue to break down this football game and this football season for the Titans. Again, my big question for you tonight is, as you look at this Titans team, they clearly have not clicked on all cylinders, at least for a full game. I think we've seen it in bits and stretches. The second half in Jacksonville was arguably the best they've played all season long. The second half against Seattle was a great performance from this football team. Second half against Indianapolis was a really good performance. Those things are what you can draw on for what this team can be at its best. But we really haven't seen a game this year in which they've been able to do that for more than a quarter or so. They haven't been able to string it together in all 3 phases for 60 minutes. So what do you think? 8 weeks in with a team that's 5-3 and in first place in the division. Do you look at it as a positive that here they are, that's the position they're in, and yet there's another gear or should be another gear out there for them to play? Or do you look at this as a negative that this is just kind of what this team is, maybe at this point? Interested on your thoughts on that. 737-7767 is our number tonight. Talked about Kevin Byard earlier. I also want to throw the plug out there for Wesley Woodyard. To me, those two guys have been two of the best defensive football players in the National Football League this year. Byard, obviously, with the 5 interceptions last week, he leads the league in interceptions. Woodyard has just been a beast. And this is a guy that, to me, it's come out of kind of nowhere. He has been a good player the last couple of years, but even last year, he lost some of his playing time last year for the Titans. And this year, he's been their leading tackler in just about every game. 8 games in, I think he's been in double-digit tackles 6 times already. He's one of the league leaders in tackles. Yesterday, he had 14 stops, and the biggest one of the game. First play of the fourth quarter, it's a 10-point game. Ravens are deep in Titans territory, trying to make a big play to keep a drive alive. And he slams up the middle on a 4th and 1 run and just pops the ball carrier, stopping him in his tracks. Titans get the stop, get the ball back, and we're in complete control of the game at that point. That's the type of leadership and that's the type of play that Wesley Woodyard has brought to the table so far this year. So I want to throw some props out to him as well. John Burton and I have actually, in our sports office, we've already started the campaign for Byard and Woodyard to go to the Pro Bowl this year because I think they've been that good. They have been that terrific in what they've done so far this season on the defensive side of the ball. And the defense, to me, has really picked it up, especially over the last month or so. I mean, think about this. Over the last 4 games, including the loss in Miami and then this 3-game winning streak, the Titans have only surrendered 4 offensive touchdowns. Actually, I even misquoted that. It's 3 offensive touchdowns. The 4th is actually a defensive score. 3 offensive touchdowns in that stretch. They're not letting teams get to the end zone. 2 of those, by the way, came yesterday, not in garbage time because the Ravens were in the game into the final minute, but late scores. When you're playing more of a prevent defense, you got dime on the field, and they're moving the ball down the field against that. The defense has really stepped it up as of late, and you got to feel good about that. And I think special teams for this team as well. That's been a real Achilles heel for the Titans in recent years. Heck, they fired the special teams coordinator before this point in the season last season because it was just that dreadful. They have been much better on special teams this year. We know about the numbers of Ryan Suckup kicking field goals. Brett Kern has been the best punter in the NFL this year. So you arguably have the best 2 kickers out there. They've covered kicks better. They've got a dynamic return man in Dory Jackson, which has helped them as well. You feel good about the special teams. It's been the offense, surprisingly. Maybe the area of the ball that you felt the best about coming into the season, it's been the offense that has been up and down at times and sporadic at times this year. That's why they haven't been able to click on all cylinders. So maybe yesterday, maybe some of the things we saw in the red zone are the first signs of that offense starting to click, starting to gel and come together. Now, remember, injuries have played a huge part of that. Marcus Mariota hasn't been healthy the entire time. Delaney Walker has been beat up the last couple of weeks. DeMarco Murray, shoulder, hamstring, out of training camp, knee yesterday. There have been injuries. Quentin Spain out yesterday up front on the offensive line, and obviously Corey Davis has basically been out the entire year. Missed all of training camp, played the first week of the season, got hurt in week 2, and then came back for the first time yesterday. If all those guys are as healthy as they appear, and I know Murray's going to be battling the knee this week, Delaney's probably still going to be dealing with his bone bruise, ankle sprain this week. You know, you got to deal with those types of bumps and bruises, but for a team that's been pretty much beat up all season long, this is about as healthy as they've been. coming out of the bye, coming off of yesterday's game. If they can stay that healthy, they've got a real chance to maybe come together, maybe find a rhythm offensively in the second half of the season. Phone lines are open, 737-7767. Do we have a call here, Taylor? All right, we will get to phone calls right after the break, and we will be right back after this. You're watching Titans Talk on News Channel 5 Plus.